waiting on fries. That you don't get it? You don't. What do you mean you don't get waiting on fries?
Hopefully the customer never hears waiting on fries, but all this time on the entree and it's perfectly executed, and then you're like,
ready to go.
I forgot to fire the fries.
I just always use that when I forgot to put somebody's order in, and I was like, hey, I'm just waiting on the fries. It's gonna be 2 more minutes. Realistically, I come back 10 minutes with the food.
Exactly. They just know that their food's not there and the server said they're still waiting on fries.
I guess we're just waiting on fries.
All right, presenting sponsor
This week's
is
presenting sponsor.
it's not this week. The presenting sponsor until y'all throw in some coin is my restaurant.
He was like, yo, we gotta get the presenting sponsor down. It's my restaurant. It sounds weird when I do it. No, it sounds perfect. It's
It does sound
Smokehouse.
perfect.
What's the code? How do they order the food at the 10% discount?
Smoke Squad, 10% off when you order your food at shtailgate.com.
Smoke Squad, Smoke Squad, Smoke Squad.
I hate that part.
I know, I hate that. I can't help it. I can't
You
help
can also get a table reservation there now too, because we're back.
Oh yeah, back open.
And
Indoor seating.
not
And
only
outdoor
are we
seating.
back open, we've got Kyle and Sarah back in the mix sitting with us
man.
today. Isn't that fun?
Super throwback.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and he's got a lot going on his own too. You open up Instagram, and I know we talked about this last time. He's doing like 3 million TikTok videos all the time. He's out in the Hamptons. You can't find out where this guy is.
Or you can find out too easily.
But we got to talk about so many things, like including your restaurant that a huge makeover has been undergone. What's the word?
Underwent.
Just help.
Sounds good to me.
Okay,
Look
cool.
it up.
But Lala Taqueria.
Taqueria.
We have people who work for us that call it that.
Clearly you're from Stanford.
I can't ever
He
not
did
say
that on
that. It's
purpose.
really
That's
tough.
the thing. Some people really can't say that word. Yeah.
I don't understand the hardships about it, but I struggle. It's tough. Do we have a discount code that we can send these guys to the website and
Do we have
do
a
some
discount
orders?
code?
We had one
probably
for
do.
May, but that's
May's
over.
We don't, but we can make one up. We can figure this out later.
Let's sum Kyle up too, in case people didn't check out the first episode in which we spoke with Kyle the first time.
Wait, what's the website though for the
Taqueria?
Yeah.
LalaTaqueria.com or at LalaTaqueria on Instagram. That's the best place to get us. You can order there. You can check out our vibe, and everything is there. So.
As a graphic design guy, I love that logo. It just pops and it speaks to
You
me.
know what? The woman who did it for us is a good friend of mine. She used to be the head of graphic design for Reebok.
Love it.
And she left to do like corporate branding stuff for small businesses. So mainly restaurants, but yeah.
Absolutely, with the color pop, it's like that pastel pink color almost,
Yeah.
but a little bit of neon hit in there too.
Yeah.
Overlaid on the white underneath it, I believe it is, or black, depending on what the background is.
It reminds me of the Grand Theft Auto Vice City logo.
I'm with that.
If you go in the restaurant now, it's all pink. So it'll really be
And I
Vice
think
City in there.
We talked about this too a couple episodes back too, where sometimes the most simple branding is the best branding. Where that logo is not ever leaving my mind, I don't think.
Yeah.
Every time I pass it, I just look at the window and I'm like, that's a sexy logo.
It was annoying. It was like she just hit it to us the first time, and we were like, okay, I think this is the one. I think this is it.
Yeah.
But we wanted, we knew how
want
much
more.
we paid her, so we're like, wait, should we get different?
Yeah, I want to see.
There were some other ones, and they were not even close. But
That's
yeah,
that's
thank
another
you.
side argument too about things too, is where you can get cheap graphics done, but you might have to go back and have 100 revisions versus paying somebody appropriately that does this all the time. They do this for a living and they know those programs in and out, and they could just hit you with what it is, and you go, that's it.
Yeah, this is. I mean, I'll gladly give her a shout out. Her name is Claudia Del Castillo. She lives in Cape Cod. She is just like that. Like she'll spend her time and talk to you, and really say, okay, so you're like, she's never been to the restaurant, never had one taco, never did anything, and she's like, I think this is who you guys are. So yeah,
That's
she's
pretty
great.
good.
That's a good point though.
You had her on your podcast,
Yeah.
right? A couple
Yep.
episodes, which is the National Restaurant Owners Podcast.
That's the National Restaurant
Oh,
Owners
okay.
Podcast. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, and you want to talk about activity. This dude is talking to everybody. Who'd you just talk to the other week?
So yeah, Michael.
I had
Chernow.
Michael Chernow on
That was cool.
last week. I had a guy on. I hasn't been on yet, but he invented now this stuff called Bebot. I don't know if you have ever seen it. The video's on YouTube.
Explain.
It was originally like robots that would deliver food. This is pre-corona. And it's not as wild as it sounds, but basically like it's a system that would be pick it up at the bar, go up and over, and drop it here. So it was mainly for a space that had multiple rooms or outdoor dining.
Actually, I think we saw
I think
that
I remember seeing that at one of the shows we went to.
at the restaurant.
Yeah. So he now adopted that technology to be basically you just order here at your phone, you pay at your phone, and that's it. So no servers, no nothing.
And now where we're at.
Yeah,
all
I
of a
remember
sudden-
thinking that's
Exactly.
kind of ridiculous. Who's gonna do that?
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden it makes sense.
Yeah, so he's I'm assuming he's crushing it with that. He just got rid of the robots and just selling the technology. But yeah, a lot of cool people to talk to.
Kyle, before you go any further, we got to talk about you and who you are and what you do in the restaurant business and what you do for guys out here, because you really have a full, complete shop at the end of the day, where somebody that is looking to open up a restaurant, somebody that has a restaurant, can come check in with you and say, I need this stuff done. And you're like, I got a guy.
Yeah, last time we just talked about the real estate part of it, but there's it's like 800 different things you can call Kyle for.
It's become a lot of different things lately. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I learned a lot of things the hard way by doing them wrong. So I hate to see guys not able to make it, or like just struggle because they don't have the right guy's phone number or don't know who to talk to about a certain thing. So yeah, for sure. And you know, it's just I said in the beginning, I want to help restaurants succeed and lower the failure rate of restaurants in this country, because there are so many guys. I'm just thinking, like, we all know the names of some guys around here that are probably not going to make it simply because they are too old school in their thinking, or they are not willing to adapt their model, or they didn't even know about the PPP till it was too late, or they just don't have access to information. So just try to put it out there, and be available for sure.
And to put a title on things, really, Kyle is a commercial real estate specialist at the end of the day. But like we just said, way bigger than that. And I got to thank you. I think you helped out one of my buddies during all of this, looking into PPP loans and, and trying to secure his food truck and whatnot.
I spoke to him on the phone. Yeah,
yes.
For sure. Yeah.
And just the fact that you were out there during all these times where guys maybe don't know where to find the reading materials, don't know where to look for things, or just overwhelmed completely. You're like, I already got all these bases covered. Let's just put you in the right direction. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do, and that's where we're at.
And that PPP stuff was some crazy shit.
Yeah, I mean, I was back with you constantly.
We were back every day. We're like, yo, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that?
Today? Anything? Question mark? Yeah.
And right now, too, like, the laws are just constantly changing day to day. So now I just went back to work recently, and I'm not ready to do 3 days in a row. I'm feeling it today after the long weekend. But with that being said, every single time the phone call comes in and it goes, hey, can I have a party of 5? Can I have a party of 4? First off, it was no parties bigger than 5. Yeah. And now it's kind of like, well, if the table's big enough and there's enough space, you can accommodate 8. In this table, you can accommodate 10. And I'm just like, how do you answer this when you're not taking reservations for things either? And it's kind of a first come, first served basis. You don't have a real answer for these people that are calling on the phone. You say, yeah, you could come in and wait, or we could split you up into 2 tables.
They're being aggressive. Like, as people are saying, like, can we just move this table over here, or can we do that? Like, we're seeing that over in Larchmont for sure.
Yep, the comfort level has like set in at this point. Yeah. Where at first everybody
was willing to follow the rules.
Now
we're back.
We're back. Just put the table, bring it up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I know them.
Did you guys open inside now too?
We did, but the weather's been so good up until last night. No one wanted to be inside anyway.
Larchmont let you go into the street.
Look, Larchmont is, they're crushing it. It's like a model for what should have been done for everybody. And it was not even, at least I wasn't involved, and I had no idea it was coming. It was like, this is what's happening. There was some cheesy poster. I was like, oh, that's cute. Like, they're going to push that we're out.
Right.
And then they put these gigantic barricades out, and we're bigger outside than we are inside.
Yeah.
And the weather has been a huge factor in it. Thank God, it's been really nice.
We've actually had great weather for like the past 3 weeks.
Yep. So,
can you kind of just describe, though, what Larchmont has done? I haven't driven by once, as it's not convenient for my travels.
Yeah, it's not really a way to go. It's not really a place you go in and out
Did they shut down the main streets kind of deal, like many places have done?
They put these big cement, like, blockades in front of whatever they're called. Big cement things in front of the
He's holding his hands up like 5 feet tall, by the way.
They're wide. And they're big. They're not going anywhere. And basically block the parking off from, I think it's 8 feet from the curb out in front of the restaurants.
Yeah.
So then you can go down, if your neighbor happens to be vacant or they're not open at night, you can put your tables in front of there as long as it's 6 feet apart. And then there's all sorts of crazy things. They got somebody coming to paint the streets, like some artwork. We've got 3 12-foot palm trees coming tomorrow to be there, like, for ambiance. Cool. Tequila Sunrise has like these really cool lights. It's like Mardi Gras over there.
The palm trees are going to survive for like 2 months in this climate.
I know. Thank God they're rentals.
For those 2 months, they're going to be amazing.
They're going back to Florida. So a lot of places have done this pretty much. In Stamford, Connecticut here, They just took our back outside area where the parking areas are, and they just paved over it, allowing for a ton of tables to go outside. Almost more than the restaurant's even built to handle.
That's the problem.
And we spoke on this too. Restaurants aren't built for this type of, not volume, but
Operation
of how far these tables are, how far you have to walk out with the food, and then not only that, but are your tables covered? We had torrential downpour the other day that absolutely killed every single place outside in Stanford that didn't have some type of overhang covering, which is now something that you have to think about, because if that's the one thing that's going to stop your entire day from making money, then how do you prevent going through that again? Do you now have a tarp that just rolls out the moment rain is coming, or what?
I know that's what we're gonna say. Like, how successful is this? We'll find out how successful it really is once it starts to rain.
Yeah.
But our place is maybe 600 square feet on the inside, so I think our capacity, we can have like 9 people in there. So
I think you get a little trend thing too, because I feel like Tuesday we opened back up inside. We started service again. It is what it is, but people are coming in. I think more comfortable to sit outside.
Yeah.
So we saw, what was it, Saturday, whatever day that it rained a little bit during lunch, the takeout numbers kind of came back a little bit.
Yep.
I don't think people are, not everybody's 100% ready to come back inside.
But people are still ready.
More
to come
people
out
are ready
buy
to go
food.
outside than they are inside.
But that's the badge of courage, I think, that restaurants who survived this whole thing, is they're going to say, we were able to instantly change.
Right.
So you used to come in here and get your wings and everything. Well, get them to go. It's the same exact thing.
Right.
If they know you can do it, I think that's why you're going to be able to, it's going to be front of mind when all of a sudden, we can't go there, then let's just order.
And we got a to-go team now that's been doing it for 3 months. They got it down solid.
Oh, yeah.
So if they call us to go, okay, all right, cool. That's what we're going to do now. And we kept the front. For
front area
service,
separate,
we shut down that front. We had to be at 50% capacity anyway, so we lost the table up there, kept it to go, kept all
You
the
have like a
drinks up
solid
there.
to-go window now,
The
though.
window's there. You just walk up. So you have the restaurant outside and inside, and the to-go window is still kind of like a separate thing. Real easy transition. 1, 2, 3, and we kind of like it that way.
I know, right? You're like, let's just stick with this.
Right.
But that's a question. Does that make you? You might not gonna change this store, but does it make you rethink anything about what you have going forward?
Oh, for sure, for sure. We have to look at the floor plan and see, what's going to change. What should we put in? We're definitely going to ramp up the takeout part. I mean, it was already part of it because we've always done a pretty good
Yeah,
takeout.
Nero was always a pretty solid takeout location anyway, so now you just get to format your business or your actual building around that business.
Right. But it's an adjustment that had we started building before this happened,
Yeah, it
we
might not
might
have
have been
been in the
behind it.
frame of
And
mind.
now that we're, it's still just plans on paper. So we can, let's put this over here and put that over here for this kind of thing. And we got
a perfect flow this time.
This will be interesting. I don't know if it happened yet because I don't know how many people are signing leases, on new places yet. But maybe it's the first one. We have the coronavirus clause.
Oh yeah, for sure.
in
man.
the lease.
What does that mean?
And it basically, I threw it in there and I was like, well, we didn't sign this lease yet. Now we're going through this. So what I want in there is a clause that says, if we go into, because this was the struggle, we could talk about that a little bit of what happens when you pay rent. Now we don't have the capacity, but we still have to pay rent. And you got to talk to your landlord. And some people's landlords are nice, some people are not nice. The landlord could be struggling too. They might be paycheck to paycheck, the same thing. You don't know, right? Just because it's a big nut, whatever. You don't know what their nut is. So, but I said, let's put in the lease that if we get initially, if a second wave comes back in January and we're just opening, then that we get a diminished capacity rent in the lease. So if there's a state order that you can only have 50% capacity, and we pay 50% rent. If there's a state order that you can have 0 capacity, and we don't pay the rent.
Yeah,
a big difference.
That's a huge thing to put in your.
And it's logged into. It has to be a state order, and it has to. You can't just be like,
that's fair.
we're closed on Monday, so we get a prorate. Like whatever.
Yeah.
But if something like that happens, and it's throughout the lease, not just coming back. So we said, listen, it's a 30-year lease. If it happens, maybe not coronavirus, but a pandemic.
Any
so
like state mandated lockdown.
Yeah. So it's a pandemic clause that says if there's an executive order from the state that restricts any capacity, that's reflected in the rent for the time that the executive order is.
I mean, is this the ridiculous thing about this? And obviously, there's a lot to talk about, but the burden of that whole thing can't fall on the tenants. It can't just be the tenant's responsibility to fix this. It's got to be on. You got to think like business partners.
Right.
So what a lot of guys have done is say, okay, the pandemic clause, like you said, is okay, cool. So if this is how it comes down from the state or from the federal government, whatever the case is, we're gonna shift to like a percentage rent or something like that. So if I'm at 0% and I can't open, you get 0%. Then if I ramp back up, or maybe there's a minimal base rent in there saying, whatever, $5,000 a month and a percentage above it up to a maximum. But that kind of, you got to meet in the middle.
Right.
He doesn't want the space back. You don't want to leave.
Right.
And like you said, they got bills to pay too. So
I had heard you talking about that pitch too, and I said I thought that was a great solution to being in the situation you're currently in.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, they don't want the space back either. We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. What's the likelihood he's going to find another tenant
it's
right
either
away?
it's either this guy survives, or you got to find someone that is ready to throw a bunch of money
the
into
market
this
was
spot.
soft before this.
Right.
So
If you would have brought this up 6 months ago while signing a lease, they would have told you to go fuck yourself.
for it.
Now, at this point, it's like, all right, maybe guys are going to start taking this, and they're not going to think you're crazy for even bringing it up and saying, hey, this should be percentage-based in the event that something catastrophic happens.
And by the way, and the thing is, it's not just mom and pop guys like us. It's national tenants going out.
Yeah.
Starbucks asked for a year of no rent. Starbucks asked
And
for that.
Cheesecake
So,
Factory just say they're not going to pay any rent.
Yeah, a lot of guys are saying we're not paying
Yeah.
rent, and then when they open back up, they're going to say to the landlord, "Hey, you know what? We can only pay 60% of what we paid before. Take it or leave it."
Starbucks also knows too, though, that they're an anchor store for a lot of these complexes. That they have other tenants next to them. If Starbucks goes out, they almost have to bend to these rules to some extent.
There's so much. Yeah, there's so much language in those. Some tenants, depending on how much influence Starbucks has in that center or what they were granted.
Have you seen a center where Starbucks had no influence?
Not yet. No, yeah, exactly. I mean, there are places that build, places for Starbucks, but they'll say, if Starbucks leaves, then our rent goes down because they're the draw. Like if I'm a dessert shop and I have people going to get coffee and come to me or whatever, some ancillary business, they might have a clause in their lease that says if they leave, then I can leave. So there's a lot of little moving pieces of that kind of stuff.
That's interesting actually. Like, no, I want to be near them.
I was talking to a guy that was actually pretty fortunate in his opening of a restaurant. He's been working on this place for a while, trying to get the doors open. And sure enough, as this was happening, I guess they found water damage, which got them a nice little extension on having to pay into the lease or start paying the lease, that is. So, even with something like that, where now they don't have to start coming out of pocket as early as they expected to, you think even after that you could go back to the landlord and negotiate, hey, do you want me to open these doors or do you want me to just leave?
I think it goes back to the partnership that you got to be like, Mr. Landlord, Mrs. Landlord, like, I want to get this open more, probably as much as you want to get paid, but I can't open like this. The health, whatever the case is. And the smart landlords are going to look at it and say, you're right. Let me figure, you got to give me something. I can't take nothing. Whatever it is, everybody's different, but the thing in the city was landlords were just like, basically like, screw you, you got to pay rent. You signed something, pay me, or I'm going to put you in default and whatever. And some maybe did that. And some guys were like, well, screw you, I'm not paying rent. And neither one of those two things worked. And they held on to that for a long time. And then that personal guarantee thing came down, which said landlords, which kind of screws the landlords, is that they can't hold these guys liable for their personal guarantees. So they're like, hold on a second, so these guys can walk? So the city council approved a thing saying, if you close between March whatever and June whatever, due to the pandemic,
Right.
I mean, it's the nuclear button for sure if you want to try to call the bluff, but you can do it. You can walk away, and these landlords are like, what the hell am I supposed to do?
Right.
So it's, you've never had more leverage probably as a restaurant tenant, but it's still a dangerous game. I mean, this thing could turn around. You could get a vaccine at the end of August and change everything around.
With the ability of all these restaurants now and seeing firsthand and being in it, seeing how somewhat easy it is for us to pivot. You've made a lot of changes here in Smokehouse. I'm seeing a lot of changes going back to Tagine at the bar, and I'm seeing that we're not selling the same things that we were selling previously. We're not doing the same cocktails we were doing previously. A lot of places are just doing plastic cups for outside also. So you're not getting sexy cocktails everywhere you go with your beautiful garnish on top, things that you're used to seeing. So the other day when I was in there, I said, fuck this, I'm reinventing the bar. Yeah. So I got rid of all the bottles that were in my immediate vicinity that we don't use anymore because we're not making those cocktails. And I made sure that I don't have to spin anymore. Now that I'm just a one-man show doing a service bar pretty much for the entire restaurant outside and inside, I'm making sure that we can cut those service tickets down even further. And
Just pump more drinks out.
Totally. And it's a lot for, a skeleton crew to actually take all these tables, because obviously every restaurant wants to maximize how much revenue they can bring in with as little staff as possible. And just talking to the GM the other day, she was saying that our location is actually more profitable than the location they have in Atlanta, because they've actually brought back the entire staff almost, and the labor costs are through the roof.
But the numbers aren't there. The sales aren't there.
And we're proving that with a 4-man squad, we don't need it.
Yeah.
Obviously our GM is very hands-on also, and she's not scared to get her hands wet. She's also chosen to bring back people that are fully capable of not only serving, but also bartending, and also, greeting people and putting out fires.
Utility players.
Exactly. And
Compared
those,
to your capacity before, what are you doing now?
Well, I think we have about 8 tables out front. We now have 8 tables in the back. And we're at 50% inside, so that gives us, I think, another 8 tables. But there's only 2 waitstaff on the floor, so I've been pretty much pinned behind the bar. And if they get busy on the inside, I can kind of navigate around the bar and help out there. And they said it really made a difference, because they tried to do it without the bartender and just make their own drinks for a while. But as the demand was there and people just kept on coming in, it just made it hard for 2 people and the GM to multitask these roles.
So that's what we did, is we brought back 2 bartenders to do the table service. So instead of bringing back servers and then someone has to make a drink, we were just like, okay, the first people back are going to be the bartenders. Seniority-wise, too, they've been here the longest, so it just made sense. They're the longest tenured employees. They should be the first ones back.
Right.
They know the restaurant better than anybody else. They should be the first ones back. They can make drinks and serve tables.
They're more
And take
useful.
takeout orders and pack food, and they know the menu. They should be the first ones back. So that's what we did. So the table service is just the bartenders, and they can make the drinks or whatever. But the other trend that we saw was we kept that. We had cut the menu down so much during the last 3 months, just so that we could keep the labor consistent. Prep hours are down. How many people we have to have on the line is down every day. Obviously, the floor was non-existent until a couple weeks ago. But we just kept that menu, so we reopened with that cut menu, and the same thing with the bar. I said, listen, for now, we had 20 drafts. We have 6 now, right? We had a cocktail list of like 12 house cocktails that we were making in house. We have 3 now, right? And we have 2 slushes, and then we have them all pre-made for to go. Instead of breaking that back down when we go to table service, we just kept them in the quart and pint-sized containers.
Streamline operations.
Serve them that way at the table. Everything's quicker.
Yeah.
You get 2 full one. I think so far, watching this kind of new trend, the reaction from the people has been kind of cool, because they get the thing and they can pour it out. And we branded it. I stole from Kyle, as I saw
the bottles
that you guys posted with the cool sticker on it, and I was like, that's good. I want to do that. So I said, where'd you get those? And did the same exact thing. And we put those on, and everybody's taking a picture of it, and now you get that exposure too. Whereas the regular cocktail didn't have our logo on it, but now the plastic bottle has the sticker on it, and everybody's taking a picture and whatever. And then on our side, it's consistent. It's the same exact drink every time, because we batch it out. There's no overpouring, so the margin is exactly the same every time. It's faster to get out. You need less people to execute it. And we're over here thinking, like, maybe this is the way we're just gonna
do this.
Ease them
stay
into it.
even when we come back, like,
But you
this
feel
is our
that-
new way of doing it.
You feel that now, and it's mostly because people aren't sitting at the bar. But when somebody's sitting at the bar, they want the presentation. They want to see it getting made. They want to see you shake your arms around a little bit and, do the hocus pocus until you put the drink together. But as they're sitting on a table, they're not seeing any of that. You can just pour it right in, and they're not
That's what
thinking
I'm
twice about it.
Yeah.
I think that communal sharing of a drink too, at least in our
Works for this
scenario,
place, yeah.
it works, because people can get a quart of margaritas and sit there and just pour and share it, and they don't have to worry about who's touching my glass or this glass. You all just pour it themselves. I think when the bar comes back, you have a different kind of setup. You can pour one thing, and you have like kind of 2 operations at that point. But the other part is too, you get the check averages up, because where one person might have been the only one drinking a margarita, now they order a quart and it's $40 instead of $12.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's
I have to give it to the Blind Pig also. I did see that they did slap their garnishes into their to-go bags as well, which is
Their
nice.
stuff looks nice.
Garnish it yourself. Fine. Here's your dehydrated lime, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Which is great.
I will say the tough part is managing the new protocols that not everybody knows about, though. So when people come in, they're not aware that we can only have a certain amount of people.
Like
And
you were
if
talking
have-
about those emails. I didn't get
Yeah.
any of those 3 emails.
Yeah.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
if you have people you could technically have people at the bar right now, but they have to be 6 feet apart, and for every person you put at the bar, you have to take away a table because that's the capacity limitation. So for us, it didn't make sense. Just keep the bar closed, keep a table going.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit here and watch a bar stool move. Be like, excuse me. Excuse
no,
me.
no.
Yeah.
With a tape
2 more
measure.
inches, please.
You know, like no, just sit at the table, and we know the tables are 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
But the other thing is people, they come to a restaurant, they come to hang out. Friend walks up and he's hanging over the table.
Yeah.
Now we have to say, sir, you have to be seated at it, to the table. to
Alcohol
enjoy it.
changes everybody's.
Right.
Hey, whoa.
Yeah, now we're all in.
back up.
And, yeah, and I have to sit here policing it.
Yeah,
and say,
right.
sir, you need to have a seat. Okay, and then they tries to squeeze into a
Can't do
fifth
that,
seat
sir.
at a 4 top. And say, sir, I'm sorry, you can't. We can only have 4 seats at that table. If you guys would like to move to,
Another table.
and this
yeah.
is so counterintuitive to the way I've come
Yeah.
up because the rest of my life in the
Hospitality.
restaurant was
Throwing
like,
chairs
sure,
at the end.
throw a chair,
Yeah,
let's
3
go.
more. You guys can
Call your
stop in
friends.
here.
You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
everybody
Plenty
your
of room
friends,
here.
And now I'm sitting here saying no,
Yeah.
and no is not a word that we use.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
It's always let's figure out
Whatever you need.
I'm gonna figure out how to say yes, not how can I tell you no.
Yeah.
So that's been, and I've gone up to tables and I feel like a dick because I'm like, I'm sorry guys, you can't do this right now. But Papa Cuomo is going to be mad at me.
And get another email or 3.
And, yeah, you get another email. That's the tough part, and I don't think the general public
quite
understands
understand.
the protocols that you've seen the New York State Forward thing. It's like
Yeah.
10 pages long with all these different things that you have to go through. The stress level of having to deal with that on the back end is it's tough.
Intense.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough.
Well, then some of it was like conflicting with what towns were allowing you to do and what the state
Yeah.
says you could do. But I think going back to what you said before, this whole thing caused the restaurant industry to put a mirror up against itself and really look at things that they either just ignored or just, I know guys, I have ex-partners who are this way, who are like, well, this is just the way we do it. And you get by and, sales fixes everything, so you're busy, but that's just, we need all these guys because that's what they do, or we need all that stuff because so-and-so likes that cocktail and we have to keep it here. Now, then as soon as that happens, like, F this, they don't like it, then they can, and it makes you say, okay, you're right, maybe we don't need that guy, maybe we don't need that drink, we can cut this menu item, we can do this. And I think guys who don't look at it that way are going to be in trouble, but...
I saw you post that. Your question was, is this the reset? You said something like, is this the reset your restaurant needed?
Yeah, right.
And I read that and I was like, yeah,
Maybe.
it was. This is nice.
It is. Some people just can't do it. They just shut down. Like, no, this is. But I put
It's
this
too much
here
change at
because
once for them.
Yeah. And that's just their mentality, and they can't do it. And unfortunately, that's a recipe for disaster. right now.
There's others that they don't ever look at their product mix. It's irresponsible in some cases because you can slim a menu really easily by just seeing that something's never ordered, and maybe it's only fresh in your brain because Kyle comes in, or
right.
I should say Chris comes in all the time, and he just goes, "Oh, I'm ordering that," and in the restaurant owner's head, they're saying, "Oh, that gets ordered all the time." Yeah, but it's only Chris that's ordering it, and you don't realize your product mix shows that you sell 5 of these a month. Is
And
it
there's
worth
nothing
having?
wrong with saying to the customer, like, hey, look, I know you love this, but you got to try something else. And if they don't come back, I'll do it. They were buying the one drink anyways. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Especially now, we're talking about trying to keep your lights on. Sorry, we're not carrying this $80 scotch anymore because just for you.
Circling back to just having to police the restaurant also as time goes on, and alcohol's involved, and we're at this level of comfort to some extent as far as walking around without a mask on, close proximity with the mask on out in the streets. And as that becomes a norm to us, we slightly close those restrictions up a little bit more as time goes on. And seeing people have drinks in the restaurant, you kind of default back to being very comfortable. Same reason why a guy walks up to a girl in the bar, because he just ripped 4 shots and he's feeling a little bit of courage, right?
That's right.
But sure enough, seeing this happen and having to police that on the back end, while you're already a skeleton team, while you're already doing a million different tickets as well, it's really hard. Saturday night, Friday night, there's still guys coming out and they're thinking that we're staying open until 2 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever it is, not realizing that these new restrictions have us closing by midnight. The same party that you were used to having at the bar is not the party that you're having now. And just getting toward the end of that night and having to kind of break that news, it's almost more helpful to set up what somebody should expect towards the end of the night as they're in these bars or restaurants. Hey, just a heads up, guys, we're closing in an hour. and that'll prevent them from getting a little bit more rowdy,
Yeah,
and then you having to police who's sitting at what table, how many people are sitting at this table, and they'll move on. They'll figure out how to make a house party happen.
I think
right?
people don't. You need to like advertise and set the expectation, ahead of time. Like one thing that was happening over there was we would be sitting here, and as soon as we got up, somebody was hawking the table, would come over and like, guys, like you just waited 3 months to come out and wait 30 seconds while we wipe down this table, so make sure you're all good.
Do it properly.
But they're not willing to do that. It's just people are pent up and need to get out. But yeah, it's impossible sometimes to play, especially when you don't have that much staff. When you turn to 3 people you have to all turn around for 1 second. Now they're all like, you guys just sat down at a dirty table.
That was the biggest thing for us. Was we had a big meeting the day before we reopened. I said, listen, make people wait a second. We got to clean the table. We got to spray everything down. We got to make sure everything's sanitized. Just explain to them, hey, we're still doing this right now. It's not, we're not 100% back. Give them a second, whatever. It is a weird thing. So in that meeting, we had to tell people not to pre-bus. I'll do it again. You want me to get the phone?
Are you happy the phone's ringing?
I am.
Are you happy we have business during Corona time? Cool.
Because we're closed, I can't even answer it and get that sale. Well, anyway.
Selfish.
In that meeting, we had to tell the staff, don't pre-bus the table because you're going to reach over the table, and we don't want to do that. Let them put it all to the front, take it off, but try to keep your distance from the party. And it drives me nuts to say don't pre-bus the table because
you just gotta look at the
and you can see those. I know.
But
I'm sure that was hard for you.
So your Lala's a different setup, not full service, right? You usually like, what do you do, counter?
Yeah,
bring it out
we've
to
been
you?
3 different restaurants in the last 6 months. We were like, no servers, just like walking around, clear the table, go up there and order it, and we'll bring it out to you, and then clean the table when you're done. Then we went to only takeout, and now we're full service.
Now you're full
because
service.
It's just the way we had to do it. And we tried like, no, you actually have to order up here, and then, like I said, people coming in, scoot behind the table, we're gonna wipe the table clean, and they're like, can we get it? Okay. So now we got the handheld. We're out there with the toast handhelds. We're doing it that way, and it's working out fine. But it's just been an adjustment after adjustment after adjustment. But
who's physically out there policing everything right now?
Me. Right now, me.
Is there anybody that's not internal? Somebody from the county or the state?
The fire chief or whatever he is lives in town and walks around like,
So I mean,
I know the state says they put SLA agents out but they're not visible. Like they just want
like plain clothes, just walk around.
They just want to throw you a ticket.
Yeah.
Something like that. Someone's got to pay for the $600 bump everybody got on the plane.
Right.
And I'm not putting any places out there particularly because they're all over the U.S. I'm sure, but it's a lot of these bars that have now opened up. It's just lawlessness. And
I've seen some crazy stuff in my neighborhood.
I was saying the previous week, going into Yonkers. Yonkers alone in itself is lawlessness. But now, walk out to the waterfront, and you've just got everybody ordering drinks, walking up and down the street with drinks, and nobody's out there saying anything to them. Nobody's really policing anything. Take going into another bar late night, look like a Brooklyn block party.
Oh, yeah.
150 people plus, DJ, no masks anywhere, everybody on top of each other. They could care less.
Dude, have you seen like the pictures from Phoenix and Dallas and parts of Florida?
That's the part that makes me
They're
nervous.
on top of each other.
Yeah, that makes me nervous because I don't want to go back.
Yeah. If you go back and these restaurants are being re-shut down, these bars can't sell alcohol in Florida.
Yeah.
I think in Dallas too.
Florida's grounded.
And that's something that I think that people as owners here should have a fear of, because as these other states fuck everything up for everyone else, now are they going to come back and look at us and go, you know what, we have to full stop everything again? You just restocked your fridge with everything. You just implemented all the changes that you were going to make to get business back.
That's why I think this is the beginning of the second. This is going to be the real round of, if this is true, this happens in other cities. And I don't know if did you guys see that chart from Chase Bank? It was tracking spending at restaurants and how it's impact and comparing it to where there are second rounds of closures.
That's crazy.
And they're saying, by tracking transactions on credit cards and debit cards, the cities where there's the most restaurant activity are the ones that are having the most. They're having another
resurgence.
Resurgence. So Florida, Phoenix. So it's a really cool graph. It's like XY, and the line is like this, and the New York is actually in the good spot.
That's good.
And you can see Dallas, Phoenix, and all those other cities on the top right where they're getting screwed. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be the part that's going to put these guys out. they're not going to be able to get up after the second punch.
I think it's also great to see how well we're performing up here in this Northeast territory,
for sure.
where, you know, that's the least expected. We're like ground zero as far as just people on top of each other, and like our numbers are down.
I think we had the best plan to attack it.
The best leadership. I mean, this guy
Yeah.
was very straightforward. Like, this is what's going to happen if you don't do this. This is why you got to stay here. These other guys are like, in Florida, you still don't even have to wear a mask.
And they made the decision quick enough where
They
it
did,
wasn't,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
back and forth.
Right.
And we didn't go back to it early. I even said, we should just open, you know, random so-and-so walked down the sidewalk. This is ridiculous. We need to reopen. I said, I'd rather wait an extra
Just see what
3
it
weeks,
is. Yeah, I
remember
4
you
weeks
saying that, yeah.
than open too early and close again. Because just like you said, the second punch, I could take one.
Yeah.
You know,
Can't
we
take
made
two.
it through the first punch. If we opened all the way back up and had to go back, I don't know if you're gonna get up that time.
But that's what's happening. These guys are saying in the city, they're like, I'm not opening at 50% capacity. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do it again. You know, there's the moral aspect of like, okay, then until there's a vaccine, you're going to have all your cooks getting on the train. You're having the servers coming on by bus from Queens. They're going to like, this isn't a safe place, and I'm going to bring them in for what? I'm not making any money, so what's the point?
Right.
That was basically what USHG said. That's why we're still out of work.
Oh,
Last
yeah.
I heard was they weren't going to open up all the restaurants until we had a vaccine.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I believe it.
So how was your experience? How hard was your pivot to takeout over there?
To be honest, the hardest part was that we got so busy. It was a numbers game. There were like no other taco places in there or at that price point, you know. And our plancha in the back is like 3/4 the size of this table, and our quesadillas are 10 inches. So somebody orders 6 quesadillas. We just went from a half-hour wait to a 45-minute wait. Happens again. Now we're an hour wait. So we actually had to. You know, we're gonna have to buy a bigger plancha. We're gonna have to like maybe build out the kitchen another 3 or 4 feet. But the actual pivot of it was just being so small and trying. I mean, we use pizza boxes for our quesadillas stacked to the ceiling. We had to-go cups, and like we don't have an ice machine. So there was a lot of like good problems. But there are a lot of so many restaurants. You know, they can't just all of a sudden. How do I pack my mussels to go? I can't do this. Or I plate the salmon tartare this way. How are we gonna do this? But I mean, ours was we couldn't keep up. And we're kind of at that now at the tables.
Did you notice when the dinner service got smaller to where everybody ordered from like 6 to 7:30? It was like it's
dinner time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
like-
crazy. That time was that we did. Well, first of all, in the middle of all this was also Cinco de Mayo.
I remember.
My
Yeah,
God, dude, that was awful. I mean, it was good sales, but it was like you still don't feel good about it. I don't feel good talking about it right now. We did 4 days worth of sales in 2 hours. Yeah, that's not good for anybody. And people
Yeah,
were
it's rough.
distraught.
I remember we had days like that.
that's when you go home questioning your life decisions.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah,
the
just throwing food at people.
the last Harbor Island Beer Fest that me, you, and Mike walked up, just walked into hell basically. You remember that night?
oh, I do remember that. Yeah, it was like 6,000 people at one time.
You talk about having
That was
pizza
rough.
boxes stacked to the ceiling, and like people don't realize the size of the space.
Yeah.
But pizza boxes take up a lot of room
boxes
because
do
they're
take
not
a lot of
flat. You've already pre-prepared them to put everything in for speed. But also the amount of room that those are taking up is
And
insane.
even when they're flat, they're thinking these big floppy cubes. Yeah,
They don't like fit on any shelf.
No.
They just hang off the edges.
Yeah, is there no other way to package those
I
things?
don't, we're trying to figure it out now, but it's we used to cut them. It was a mess. The pizza boxes are great, but yeah, they take up a ton of space.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like that's one of the things. Operationally, now we're gonna have to say that's where the pizza boxes go. We need to stack. I mean, people are eating 8, 10, 12, 16 quesadillas. I mean, that's
when you're talking about new business ideas too, and kind of just being able to pivot and do different things, where you're saying that you might have to expand the kitchen, is it actually ultimately maybe cheaper to just buy a food truck at that point and use that to facilitate some of these orders?
I think the one thing that's going to come out of this is a lot of restaurants are going to start to rethink their kitchens in terms of, before, I think we might even spoke about this before, like the footprint was, well, restaurant sizes are not getting smaller, they're actually getting bigger or staying the same size, but just more of that's being allocated to a kitchen. So like one line is for in-house, one line is for takeout, both set up exactly the same way, and they're doing it, they're dedicated just to printers, and guys come to the back door, you're dealing with the people coming to the front door. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's going to be, the smart ones are going to look at it every which way to make the most sense. I mean, for us, it was all about capacity. We were at max capacity, like at that 6:30 to 7:30 time. 6:45, we're like, it's an hour wait.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like,
Like, yeah.
can't do it.
Maybe. Might be more.
But I try not to complain about it because there's so many guys who've done not open.
Don't
the
even
door.
have that,
Yeah. So
What's your take on Uber through this whole process?
actually, we're switching to 100% native. We're with a company that they're called Figure 8.
Okay.
The guy is he's the guy who set up all the native delivery for Dig In. So that's actually my call at 3:00. Is that they come in and they say, okay, where are you at now? How are you set up? Basically looking at it from, if you're not getting the marketing from Grubhub, Uber Eats, and all those guys, how are you going to position yourself? Because now you're in the customer acquisition game. You're in a traditional sales funnel. Like, my point was, okay, well, we're not in New York City, we're not in Chicago, we're not in Boston. I can handle the marketing of our core market. Why am I paying these guys astronomical amounts of money?
Right.
So I despise them, and I think I've kicked multiple of them out of the restaurant. But at this time, just being aggressive, pissed off about the wait time, whatever, I told them, just get out, and you don't have to come back. But yeah, because of that, we're trying to go 100% native.
How long did it take you just to develop the native takeout here in Mamaroneck?
So that's a two-part question. We had it right away.
I expect a two-part answer here.
We had it right away.
We brought it from
We
zero.
couldn't get it to. We couldn't get the system to get people to access our system. It took us quite a long time to get that to be the first call, which is why we went to like the Grubhub and the Uber Eats and all that stuff. So we always had like a 50% delivery takeout thing, and then actually weird thing when we closed in December in New Row, we moved that phone number over here, so the New Row one started ringing here, and then through the whole pandemic we just been doing
going.
2 areas of takeout through one place, which was cool because it kept, it really helped us out in the long run.
Kept 2 communities.
But that's when people started hitting our website. So when we would do 5 or 6 through our website orders normally, now we're doing like 45. And it used to be Uber and Grubhub majority, our website secondary, and now it's kind of flopped.
Do you still use them?
Yeah.
We still use them, but I'm like right there of getting them out of house. Because it's the same thing, I've kicked a few drivers out of here
Yeah.
from being unpresentable or just being, bumping out customers that are standing there. We have guests that walk in and they're saying they're Uber guys,
Just in the way.
just
Oh God.
throwing their phone up over the guest that's standing there ordering. I'm like, dude, pickup is right there. It'll be there when it's ready.
They should be required to
Stop.
wear Uber Eats merchandise when they
Some
walk
of them
in
do, and it's weird,
purchase
'cause some of them
themselves.
come in
You
like,
see a
knowing
couple
what
that
to
have
do.
like the hat and
Yeah,
shirt.
young go-getters.
thing. Yeah, I'm like,
they're
this guy knows
He
what
knows
he's
what he's
doing.
doing.
stand out from the crowd, man.
But some of them are wearing sandals and like
They got somebody else driving. They're just like running
someone
in.
else drive. We had one. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast before, but we've definitely told the story. We had one that got pulled up, got pulled over as he was getting pulled up. He did one of the illegal
Here?
U-turns,
Yeah,
into the
of
parking
course,
spot.
I'm at it.
He gets pulled over. The cops behind him. Where on the Uber says Ramon has arrived. I don't see Ramon. We're waiting like 10 minutes. The guy's getting pulled over. His girlfriend's in the car, yelling at the cop, "Why are you pulling him over? Why are you pulling him over?" And the cop pulls a purse out of the car, and he goes, "Is this your purse?" And the girlfriend, "Of course it's my purse. Does it look like he wears a purse?" And he goes, "Sorry, I'm just trying to be clear because it's where I found all the weed. So I just want to make sure whose it was, And then she gets all quiet. This whole thing, whatever. He gets a ticket.
And this all happened like right outside the
Right
restaurant.
outside. I'm watching the whole
You're
thing.
like, the food's getting cold.
We're still waiting for Ramon to pick it up. Sure enough, the cop leaves, and it says, "Ramon has canceled the pickup." And I hear the cop say, "Okay, Ramon, have a good day." And I'm like, I don't want this guy driving the food,
exactly.
Yeah.
to the guest. But the guest doesn't realize this shenanigans that happens in between. I'd rather them just be our guy pick it up, whatever. So now that we've kind of flip-flopped that, and we're getting most of the orders in through ourselves, we're right there waiting to just cancel
rid of 'em.
Uber.
So we're supposed to talk about today is apparently DoorDash has a white label service. So they're not going to be labeled as DoorDash. You're not going to have any DoorDash stuff. They're going to be your crew, and they're going to say, "Hey, you're going to cycle through them, and you're going to say, I like these guys. I don't like that one." And then it's going to change from time to time. By the end of the day, you get to pick and choose. So they're really cool. They're like, they look at your website, they look at your packaging, they look at your menu, and they're like, something stupid. Like, people on the website naturally look to the top right first. So put your order food button there. So they do this quick analysis, then they look at your social, and they say, look, here's how we're going to get people in. Here's how you're going to package these things. You're going to package one package as a date night, one as a family pack of 4 to try to keep that check average up if you have to keep going this way. So yeah, definitely is a way to go.
I think package deals have been successful through all this as well. Yeah. Haven't we seen a lot of restaurants pivot into doing the family 4-pack, the 3-pack?
In the beginning.
I think that was the trend in the beginning. Right when it hit, people got nervous.
And you're like, I just got to make sure that me and my family are taken care of. So the family.
People got. I think people got a little nervous, and we're looking for economic friendly deals that are going to feed the whole family. Yeah. So you saw those. We did a feed the squad kind of thing. Family for 4 is like $50. Get a ton of food. But then a couple months into it, when it became a normalcy, people kind of went back to
just
what they were used to and just ordering again.
Like, can I swap this out? Can I just
all of a sudden. There was one day, it was funny, there was one day we left the online ordering on for a day we were closed. We forgot to adjust the hours.
Yeah.
And we got like 30 orders in, and I had to call all these people. I was like, I'm so sorry, but it's closed Monday. There was a glitch on the website, whatever. And every single person was like, no worries, we're just glad you guys are okay. In fact, I'll take the order tomorrow. We're home, whatever. Just send it to us tomorrow.
That's nice.
It was nice. I said, never in a million years would I get that response from 30 people.
What are you guys doing? Close and turn off your website.
Now we're back to that now, though. If that happened tomorrow,
people are just furious.
Oh man, people are like, what do you guys want? Some kind of clown operation over there, or something like that?
Take money from me.
Kyle, I guess congratulate you, right? As recently you just joined into the Sabre Real Estate Group. Yeah. You want to talk on that a little bit and tell us, what advantages that now presents to you and what you're bringing to their table?
Yeah, I think, CB was a great company, but they're like very rigid. They're very, you stay in this silo and this is what you do. And you learn a lot, but it's like very highly technical. It's very like finance driven. So I've been talking to Jay Ciano over at Sabre for a while, and
S-A-B-R-E,
S-A-B-R-E, yeah. And he was like, with your social, because I was getting in a lot of trouble over there at CB with my social. I can't say certain things. I take things down, and I'm like, this is just ridiculous. Like this, I'm not even saying anything. What? Like I can't talk about the benefits of buying a second generation restaurant or versus building one out from scratch.
I was offended by some of your dancing TikTok videos.
Apologize. But go ahead. Those are rightfully. You should be offended by some.
The flip the switch one was. I wasn't expecting that.
I know. I get called out for that still once a day. But so the Sabre is much more agile, I would say. Boots on the ground. Like we're gonna come to you as an advisory role. We're gonna come to you and talk to you about let's look at all your leases now, and we're not looking to transact on anything, but let's map out a plan for you, particularly right now. And it's just a way of doing business. We're going to do, our listings are going to be, we might have a podcast with you. We might have drone footage. We might definitely going to have a video footage. Whereas everybody else in commercial real estate is sending out email blasts and flyers and saying, hey, Justin, there's 2,500 square feet over here. And you're like, I have no interest in that market. It's really
like delete button real fast.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
as opposed to you coming in, maybe with drone footage of where that market is, and saying this is why you need to take this 2,500 square foot spot.
Like I'm going to Westport on Thursday, and my whole thing is here's why you should be here. You want to go to Westport? I'm going to go there. I'm going to show everybody everything. For some reason, people in commercial real estate feel like, well, I'm not going to tell anybody what's going on there. They're having fun. Well, I'll be the one telling everybody then, and then you guys can sit back with these places in your pocket and let me know how your email blast works out.
And Westport is a building area in an old money area as well, no? Why would guys not want to go in there?
Yeah.
You've got Bar Taco there, don't you?
Bar Taco, Bill Tavy just opened up an awesome Mexican spot, authentic Mexican with his kind of twist. Kawani, The Welk, Matchburger, Lobster Roast. It's a great restaurant town. Yeah. But commercial real estate, these people are run by a bunch of old white dudes who have known how to do things a certain way, and they don't like people who want to. You can't disrupt something, expect something to be. So in Sabre, I found they're like, no, disrupt. We want you to go disrupt everything. So Jay is very, he represents a lot of fitness brands, Orange Theory, Solid Core, a lot of restaurant stuff, emerging fitness brands as opposed to emerging restaurant brands. And he's like, I said, Jay, look, I got in a lot of trouble over at CBRE for what I said. He goes, Kyle, I'm going to stop you right there. I don't think there's one thing that you could talk about that would bother me. So I was like, let's go. And it was, it's just national advisory work on a scale where I can sit down and talk to people about not be afraid of what put out there content-wise. What are the 5 things you need to tell me before we even talk about listing your restaurant? Why could I not say that somewhere else? I need to know your square footage. What's your hood capacity? How much are you looking to get for this place? Or, do you have any issues with your liquor license? Let's figure it all out together. For some reason, you're not supposed to do that in commercial real estate. So
Is it more so the idea of give less to get the conversation flowing and have them force the call on you?
I think it's like putting the shield first, like the big, whether it's Ripco, CBRE, JLL, or anything, this is who we are. But most of the phone calls I get from people for just like referral stuff are not like, oh, I hear you work for Sabre. They're like, oh, I see you because of this.
Right.
And it makes me more apt to talk about Sabre because they let me do it. Whereas at a company like CB or Ripco, I don't want to talk about them because they're telling me to shut up.
Yeah.
That's always the old game too. It always seems to be those companies want to stay, hold the line, and then everything passes them, and then they're running to catch up to the game.
That's
after.
Blockbuster, Netflix.
You know, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Blockbuster didn't want to sell to Netflix, and they ended up going out of business.
belly up.
I could care less what. I think there's an old school thing of saying, you know, we're a partner with this company. So you look at a big company that everybody knows the name of, and
like trust behind
some guy wants to say, no, I use that. I'm part of that portfolio. You know, we're a this and that group, and I don't think the younger generation or like the
cares
new
about that.
gives a shit at all.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
no.
I could care less. You know, I don't care what company you work for. I'm gonna call you because we've been doing this,
Yeah.
and I see exactly what you said, and you know now I know you. I don't care if you were with them. Okay, now I'm gonna go wherever you're
exactly.
at, and I'm gonna call this dude because that's what I want to do.
And it's things like, you know, a lot of these people will say, hey, do you want to go see this space on Thursday or Friday? And you're like, are you serious? Like, can we go on Monday? Like that, just knowing like, hey, you can't call them at this time. This is what.
Yeah.
So there's some things like, yeah, I'll take as an advantage because I know restaurant people and I know kind of how they operate and where their heads are at. But I think overall the advantage is provide all the upfront value, and now you have nothing. What are you going to show them? I already showed them that space. I already told them about that space. They don't like it. And finding out like, hey, you know, I want to be in. If you said to me, hey, I want to be in.
I'm gonna throw the fucking phone.
It won't stop.
It's somebody trying to find. It's a commercial broker trying to give them a spot right now. You know, it's you saying, hey, I'm gonna want to go up to Boston. I want to be on this street, and then we'll say, okay, we'll go up there and we'll find 2,000 square foot. It might be a card shop now, it might be whatever, but it's just a different way of thinking, doing business.
Totally. And you know, with going into Sabre, are they actually located out here in the Northeast territory?
Yeah, so they're based out of the city, work out of a WeWork office in the city, and then have an office in Garden City on Long Island, and then North Jersey, and then my house in Westchester and Fairfield.
Yeah.
I was supposed to start the Westchester Fairfield office, so.
That'll be on hold for a while, obviously.
Yeah, but you know, to be honest, things are starting to pick up. I mean, there are guys that everybody at this table knows who I spoke to on my way here that are like, do you know any? I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. I have a new idea for this, I have a new idea for that. So this past week, the last 10 days or so, people are trying to find deals.
I see that happening too. Like we were talking a little bit about the future landscape, and now we're starting to come out of it. Although this juncture we're at right now might be the hardest part of the whole thing, but whoever comes through this might have a little cash, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for the new wave of stuff going on. Because you're seeing this week, I feel like I saw the most amount of this place is closed, this place is closed, this place is closed, this place is closed, and you would think that would have happened a couple of months ago as soon as we hit this thing, but it feels like now I'm seeing, all right, this guy's hanging it up, this guy's hanging it up. All that's going to be open, and if you're in the game early enough, and you got the energy to do it, there's going to be a ton of opportunity.
Yeah, that is true.
We actually talked second generation restaurants last time you were in here, and obviously there's a big advantage of taking a second gen spot that maybe just couldn't cut it for whatever reasons it was. But are you seeing these places start to open up?
They're starting to open up, and I think, you know, places, you know, like Smokehouse or Lala that are opening up and are doing a good job still providing an experience are going to cause these other places to go out, because now they don't have the outdoor seating. They don't have it, or they can't execute. And they were hoping for this day, well, when we can open back up, but we can have outdoor seating. And I can just sense the tone in their voice. They're just like, I'm not going to be able to, like, I'm trying. But now it's like, oh, let's go to Smokehouse. They got the slushy machine at the door. We can get, let's go to Lala's under the palm trees. Let's go, you know, up to Stanford and go, you know, Taco Daddy or 14 on the rooftop. You're going to be able to do these things because now they're the ones who do it right. They're good operators, and they're prepared for it, and they were ready to do it. And some maybe didn't have the outdoor seating and figure out something else, but some guys are just not going to be able to deal.
I think if you didn't make that initial pivot
it's too late to do it.
It's a longer jump to the next step.
Yeah.
You know, we've made that pivot the last 3 months and operated in it, so I think we got a feeling of what it's going to look like.
You're a little more used to it right now.
Before it got there.
Yeah.
You know, before all the mandates and protocols came out, I think we all had a pretty good idea of what it was going to look like, so we could adjust. And if you didn't make that pivot, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
To branch further into the second gen too. Is it insane to think that guys are going to start approaching you and they're going to start asking the prices on the square footage and go, "You're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
I'm not paying that at all."
Oh yeah.
And do you think this is going to pull the real estate values down a little bit and have guys settle and say, "You know what? I'll take that 16 instead of the 20"?
I think it's going to be, you know, and this market's different because we're like an affluent market and landlords maybe have more than one properties and one goes vacant. They're not in such a rush to drop their pants on that one. But, you know, there's a guy I know in Miami who does leasing for a major landlord. And he has a place listed for like $40 a square foot. He's getting offers for like $5 a square foot, $10 a square foot. I mean, this is the first round of opportunists, right? And then there's going to be another one who's saying, okay, this is going to be okay. This was 60. I'll take it for 48. I'll take, you know what I mean? So it's definitely going to happen. But I don't think there's been a knee-jerk reaction by the landlords at all. In fact, they've been like, screw this. We're going to be fine. I'm paying attention. If I can ride this out another 3 months max, no, it's still $100 a square foot. So, but the opportunists right now are taking what they can for sure.
I perused through an article the other day too. I didn't fully go into depth with it, but I took from it that 30-year mortgages by areas that are kind of at sea level are possibly going to start being in jeopardy down the road, because as the ice caps melt and seawater rises, they're saying we don't maybe want to take a 30-year mortgage risk on you if this part of the world may be underwater due to, you know, whatever it is at that point.
That's wild.
Like,
That's pretty deep.
I just had I just had to drop that gem real quick, guys.
Anyway,
Steve.
let's not hold you up. I know you got to get on the phone.
Noobs, take us out of here.
Take us out of here.
Good talk, guys.
It's like it was his first time. Like, what are we gonna do now?
Good talk, guys.
Good talk, guys. Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button because, you know, algorithms.